So I want to welcome everybody to the beginning of the series on Buddhist art. We call it ethical wisdom in action, or we could say the expression of ethical wisdom, because we're really trying in this series to bring in with the artistic expression, so the aesthetic notions and the aesthetic expression, along with the philosophical outlook. And so this is kind of the series will focus, and we have one talk every week on Tuesdays on this topic. So you're welcome to attend at every Tuesday. It will be an open session every time. This particular series is connected with a Buddhist art course that I'm giving at RYI, Rangjung Yeshe Institute, is a Center for Buddhist Studies in Nepal as part of Kathmandu University. Basically, what we're teaching in Rangjung Yeshe is language courses related with Buddhism and a lot of philosophical courses, trying to join the traditional approach, Tibetan traditional approach, monastic approach, with the contemporary, more academic studies. So we're kind of having an ideal of a Buddhist scholar practitioner kind of ideal at this school. So if ever you're interested in, we can give you some more information about. I want to welcome Swosti today because Swosti will be at the very first, like today, the very initiative of this series, but she will be also concluding with us at the exhibit. So from April 28th to May 5th, we will have an exhibit of the artwork that will be created in the course of this course on Buddhist art at Rangjung Yeshe. And she will be the curator for this exhibit. So I'm really happy that you're opening and closing this series. There will be also during this time in April and May, there will be a conference. So we're inviting papers in writing a paper and being here in Nepal during that time. There is a conference that will occur in April 28th to May 1st. And undergraduate students are welcome to apply. So there will be a panel for undergraduate student and another more, we could say, a specialized scholarly but artistic to apply for this conference. That being said, now I'd like to present Swosti. Swosti is involved in so many things. She's writing about the culture of Nepal. She's very, very active. She's part of the Nepal Art Council. She's already curated great, absolutely wonderful exhibits in Vienna. She's going to be working in New York very soon. I know you're involved, or you in a PhD program, or you will be involved in the PhD program. Are you, Swosti? You're muted. I cannot hear you.
Not yet. Not yet. Soon. I hope soon.
Great. And you're also teaching. So you're really well-rounded individual in your field. And we're so happy that you're going to be talking about deities of Nepal. So I will let you take it from here.
Thank you, Diane. And thank you, RYI, for providing me this opportunity to present my thoughts about not only my thoughts, the exhibition itself, and also reflecting back upon the exhibition. So thank you all of you for joining, and I'm so happy to be here. I can see 27 participants, and I will begin my presentation now. This exhibition, Deities of Nepal, as you can see, was just recently showcased at the Nepal Art Council from the 27th of November to the 11th of December. But however, due to very popular request, it was extended for 2 more days. In fact, we had requests from various people related to the arts and art lovers to have such kind of exhibition for 3 months. But unfortunately, it was only for 2 weeks and extended for 2 more days. And so this exhibition was to commemorate the 60th anniversary of Nepal Art Council and the 50th anniversary of the Federation of Handicraft Association of Nepal. And it was dedicated to our late president, Satyamohan Joshi. And it was at the Nepal Art Council. So the objective of this exhibition was quite varied. It was to highlight the wealth and diversity of Nepali culture and artistic legacy, and to also present the transition of portraying deities. So initially means about like when the images of deities began to be made, they were always made for religious purposes, but at current times they are made for various other secular purposes, for aesthetic values and also for free artistic expressions. Nowadays, they decorate the lobbies of our houses, of hotels, etc., where they do not have a sacred value, but yet they give a kind of spiritual aura to the space that they are exhibited in. To educate and generate awareness of the diversity of our artistic heritage. In this exhibition, the main highlight was to juxtapose folk art, traditional art, contemporary art, sculpture, painting, art installations, and the various other mediums that the Nepali artists work on, to display them all in the same platform and not separate them as usually they are separated in exhibitions. We have contemporary exhibitions, we have traditional exhibitions, but here every genre of art was given an equal platform. It was also to provide an intermingling and interaction of artists, because many a times artists who work in the traditional genre, they confine to themselves, and artists who work in the contemporary genre, they confine to themselves. But then this platform was also to create an intermingling and to enlighten visitors about our rich cultural heritage, because through enlightening visitors, that is the lay people as well, we can create an awareness and appreciation, and in the long run, a preservation of this art form that is so widely practiced in Nepal, the art form that was practiced since the 5th century CE, it is still practiced even till today. So what was this exhibition about? This exhibition was one of the premier thematic exhibition curated to interweave folk, traditional, contemporary arts of the deities of Nepal on the same platform. It was also to showcase how sacred images nowadays are also used in secular spaces, used for the purpose of decorating secular spaces. It was also about celebrating the diversity of expressions and inspirations by individual artists. And for this, a very unique conceptual framework and curatorial approach was aimed for. And this was an exhibition which was very large, and the entries were submitted by approximately 200 artists, with over 600 artworks. However, about 180 artworks were selected and a display of 240 artworks only. So that is less than half the artworks that were submitted. I don't feel happy about that, but due to the space limitation, we had to restrict the number to about 240 only. So when we talk about this exhibition, the idea to have this exhibition was floated around July, and by a group of art lovers and people from the Handicraft Association of Nepal also. When we had a joint meeting with them at the Nepal Art Council, this idea to have a joint exhibition to celebrate the 50th and the 60th anniversary was floated, and we all thought it was a wonderful idea. So once the idea was kind of concretized, yes, we're going to have an exhibition. And Nepal Art Council and Federation of Handicraft Association of Nepal, both of them are very large entities who take responsibilities of artworks. And so an exhibition with both these two institutions working as organizers would have to be something, not just an exhibition where you hang paintings. It has to be something different. So from the time this theme was concretized, I had sleepless nights. I was wondering, what are we going to do? What is that? To have an exhibition is a wonderful idea, but what will the exhibition be about? Because traditional art, they mostly focus on sacred art, and contemporary art that Nepal Art Council has a focus on. They talk about, artists and art talk about various topics, from even religious to socio-political to contemporary themes, landscapes, objects, just any and everything they talk about. So how was I to, get a balance between these two institutions to create a theme that both would appreciate, and we could have an exhibition on that? So we had multiple rounds of discussions and brainstorming as to what will the exhibition be about. Yes, of course we can have an exhibition, but what is it going to be about? And then the space of Nepal Art Council is in many ways small, but in many ways also very big. It is 3 floors. Sometimes it can be small when the exhibition is very large, like this one. And sometimes it can be very big when the exhibitions are smaller. But this exhibition, since it was a combination jointly organized by these 2 very big institutions, it would take the whole building. So to fill the whole building with 3 floors and a mezzanine floor on top with artworks was a challenge, and without a theme for that exhibition was a further big challenge. So then with various rounds of brainstorming, we finally got to understand that it has to be a thematic exhibition. And me personally, I had to not had to, but I had to work on it in a way that it would be presented differently from exhibitions that are normally happening. And the target date was set for November, and this was July, mid-July. So that would mean August, September, October, November, 4 months to work on an exhibition. And in between are the holidays of Dasai and Tihar, and also the holidays for the election this time. So approximately 1 month would, just disappear in this 4 months period. So then this topic of deities was conceptualized. And because this exhibition was, as I repeat again, organized by these 2 great institutions supporting the arts of Nepal, then I suggested that it should be open to all artists. Then all artists, where is the limitation? All artists of the world, all artists of Nepal, all Nepali artists living in Nepal, all Nepali artists living all over the world. What should be? What should it be? So then we finally got down to having it as all artists, all Nepali artists living anywhere in the world. So it was to be participated by all Nepali artists living anywhere in the world. And so we made this open call to the artists to reach out to the artists. And this kind of an approach to having an exhibition digitally through open calls is slightly new in Nepal. It is not so popular yet. Most of the time, exhibitions are made with a set of artists in mind, and the exhibitions are planned accordingly. But this time it was very different. It was an open call, and we gave the artists 1 month to send in their submissions. So that was the period during the Dasai holidays. We thought maybe they can work on some artworks or finish some incompleted artworks. And then the theme was Deities of Nepal. And so when we started receiving the submissions, then it was wonderful to see that we had a large number of submissions. Each artist was allowed to send photographs of about 5 artworks each related to the theme. And we had made it easier for the artists. We subdivided the theme from deities of Nepal to Hindu and Buddhist deities, and then the plethora of deities included in Hindu and Buddhist deities. And so by the time we were receiving these applications, then we also started printing every submission that came. We printed them in 4x6, size of 4x6, photographs of all the artworks. And then we separated them into the themes that we could think of according to the guidelines that were provided in the open call. So we had planned about the exhibition to be to start with usually whenever we think about the concept of deities, we start with Ganesh in Nepal. But this time we thought we should start differently. So we had various rounds of brainstorming again on this, and then the concept of starting the exhibition with creation after destruction of the last eon. So according to Eastern and Hindu philosophies, creation started with a bright stream of light and the sound of the Om. So therefore, Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh, they were formed, and after them, all the creation started. The planetary system, and then all sentient beings were created. So that is the gist of the beginning of the exhibition. So once we started getting in the submissions and then the photographs were printed, then we separated them into these themes. That is the creation, and Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, Vishnu himself, Vishnu avatars, Ganeshas, Shiva and Parvati, Ardhanareshwar, then Shakti, then Buddhist deities, Adi Buddha and Pancha Buddha, and then Bodhisattvas and Taras and Mahasiddhas, Bhairavs, various other themes also included in this. We started separating the photographs accordingly, and here you can see the packets of the photographs that are being separated. And meetings were like every day. There were 2 meetings about how to work on this exhibition, because the theme was so large, and therefore it needed to be constantly discussed to weave the narrative of the exhibition. So the narrative was as such: from Srishti, creation, after destruction, that is after Pralay. So artworks that evoked the basic tenets of Hinduism or Buddhism, such as Brahman, Atman, and the Om motif, then the astral deities, in which the Navagraha are included, and the mandala, because the mandala represents the universe, and then deities related to the Shaiva cult with Ganesh, Kumar, Bhairav, Ardhanareshwar, Shiva, Parvati, Shiva Lingas, etc. Then deities related to the Vaishnava cult, Vishnu avatars, then Shakti, that is Kumari, Saptamatrika, Ashtamatrika, Das Mahavidya, Navadurga, all these female deities. Then Buddhist deities with Adi Buddha, Dhyani Buddhas, Buddha himself, Shakyamuni Buddha, Lokeshwar, Tara, Yogini, Tantric deities, Mahankal, Bhairav, etc. So this was the narrative of the exhibition. So if you can recall, we had more than 600 entries. So every day we sat for many, many hours to select the artworks. There were lots of artists who thought that this exhibition is maybe about deities, but can include everything else also. So they had sent artworks of other topics besides deities. So therefore, they were outright rejected. The artworks were outright rejected. And then because deities is such a concept in Nepal, the portraying of deities rather is such a concept in Nepal that iconographically there are lots of points that has to be correct. You know, artists can have free expressions to a certain point, but when it concerns deities, then iconographically certain aspects have to be correct. So that was also looked into at great details, and what we wanted to do was at least have one artwork of all the artists who had sent in their application, relative application, right? Not that which did not link to the theme at all. So therefore, every time we would, take out an artwork, a photo of an artist, then we had to check whether he or she had other artworks which were included in this exhibition, because this was the first time such kind of an exhibition was happening in Nepal. And therefore we did not want to be too tight with the selection that that when we make an open call next time, they will not be motivated. They will think, oh, Nepal Art Council is too tight with their selection, maybe they'll not select my work, so we'll not submit. So we didn't want that kind of a thought to come in the minds of artists. So we were pretty liberal this time with our selections. And it took us very long because we had to check the iconography, we had to check the theme, and there are lots of deities that like Ganesh and Bhairav and Lokeshwar and Taras that artists make in abundance. So so we wanted, to display a, a variety that Nepali artists work on. So therefore, selection was very, very tough. And what we tried to do was not look at, the name of the artist while selecting, only to be sure that at least one artwork of the artist was selected. Only for that purpose, we looked at the names. So weeks of selection happened. And sometimes by the end of the day, your mind and your eyes, my mind and my eyes would be, literally filled with just colorful visions of deities. So this is how we selected. We laid them out on the table, not everything at a time, because it would be too much for our minds and eyes as well. So we laid out a series of about 10 to 20 photos, 10 to 15 photos according to their themes, and looking at them closely and discussing and focusing on presenting a variety. We selected 240 artworks. These are just some phases of selections. And then after that was solely my part. For the selection, we had a big team, and it was although tough, but then there was teamwork, so it was fairly easily it passed through. Then the laying out of the exhibition on the floor plan was totally my part and very challenging, because I had to lay out 240 artworks, and every time I laid it out, it wouldn't fit, so adding temporary partitions, removing the partitions, redoing, and again doing them again. And because the gallery of Nepal Art Council, it is the first floor gallery of Nepal Art Council, as many of you know, it has lots of inbuilt partitions. So in these inbuilt partitions, you wanted one theme to end in one small cubicle, and then you move to the next cubicle with the next theme. So to have that, it was very difficult because there were so many multiple sub-themes in the exhibition, and to fit all these sub-themes inside these galleries was a big challenge. Many, many, many redos and do's and redos of laying them out on paper. Then was the planning of the exhibition, when after we laid them out, and then again we had to remove some artworks because they just wouldn't fit. So we had to remove them, and then we sent emails to all the artists about submitting their artworks. So some of them submitted, they had they sent in 5 entries, but only 1 was selected or 2 was selected. For some who had very diverse range of artworks, all 5 was selected. So like that, we had to send back emails to the artists with only their selected works to be brought to Art Council within this particular date. And that itself was very difficult. Sometimes there were some mistakes also about sending emails of two artworks to be sent when actually only 1 artwork was to be sent. But then we were dealing with about 180 artists, and so it was very difficult. It was not an easy job. And then when the artworks came in, to receive them, to label them, to inventory them, and the planning phase was, we took a lot of time to plan, because if we planned well, we realized that, we could work well. So while the artworks came in, also we segregated the areas of the first floor, the ground floor, the mezzanine floor, etc., where each artwork would go. In the inventory of the selected artworks, it was mentioned which floor each artwork would go into. So therefore, when the artworks came in for their submissions, the real artworks came in, then we separated them at that time only, according to the floors that they would be displayed in. And then Nepal Art Council agreed to hire about 12 volunteers to be working every day at the Art Council to set up the exhibition, to provide a wonderful guided tour to every visitor during the exhibition, etc. And I'm very happy to share that most of my museum studies students, about 8 or 9 of them, I was able to work with them in this exhibition, and they were able to work with me. The co-curator and the assistant, curatorial assistant, both are my students. And here again, there is Pradeep, and there is Pradeep, and I forgot his name. Yeah, he's also here. Both of them my students here. Suraj is here. And sorry, Suraj. Too taken up with the exhibition in my mind. So they are marking the space where the artworks are to be hung. We had pasted the photographs on the walls where the artworks would be hung. So when the real artworks would be brought down to the displaying gallery, they would be placed just below the photographs. And then the experts of Art Council who have been working with hanging paintings would hang them the next day or so. So we took about, I think, 1 week to display the artworks. And as I mentioned to you, the beginning of the exhibition was to start with the concept of the light and the sound of the Om, light streaming in from the dark clouds, and then the creation started. So I had planned to have a 3D kind of an atmosphere in the gallery with all the walls painted to give this kind of a reflection. And such kind of mural paintings are very expensive. And so I had to request my board to go ahead with this idea. And it was very challenging, although in the end they agreed, as you can see, because they asked me, what will happen after the 2 weeks of the exhibition? I said, it will be painted white. And they said, so much money to be spent on doing this for 2 weeks? I said, then my answer was, that is, we Nepal Art Council should be trendsetters in changing, in upgrading styles of presentation of exhibitions. So therefore, it will suit the theme, etc. And they were convinced, and by the end of the exhibition, they were really happy, because these two galleries where we painted the whole wall and the ceilings were the most popular. TikTokers, as they say, call themselves, were very, very prominent in all the spaces, and mostly in these two galleries that you can see here. This is the first gallery. So the route of the exhibition was to move clockwise, to stay sync in nature with nature, and as we move around temples in a clockwise direction. So in Art Council, usually people move in the anti-clockwise direction, but in this exhibition, the deliberate path of the clockwise movement was made so that people would visit these two first rooms, smaller rooms, and then go up to the first floor, and then to the second floor, to the mezzanine floor, and then come down to the ground floor, to the big gallery, and then exit. This was the clockwise movement. And then there was one volunteer who was stationed outside to show people the path for this exhibition. So this is the first room. And because it is brightly lit right now, it looks totally bright, but then it was very dark. And this is the second room to show the planetary system, and the Navagrahas, or the 9 planet system, that are also worshipped as deities in Nepal. And then we had planned to have a preview of the exhibition, which would cater to a group of people Nepal Art Council has formed, called Friends of Nepal Art Council, and to our corporate clients. So it was one day before the exhibition, and it was a good practice. And this kind of a practice of having previews are very popular in many other countries, but in Nepal, this trend has not yet begun. So the preview was very well accepted by the corporate sectors and Friends of Art Council, because usually during the inauguration day, the chief guests, they come half an hour, sometimes 1 hour, sometimes 1.5 hours late, and people are just waiting and waiting. And most of the corporate clients, they don't have so much time to spend like that, so they really appreciated this concept of preview. And it also helped us to fix last minute glitches that were present, and some of them also shared with us, and it helped us to fix those glitches of the exhibition and be prepared for the next day. That was the opening of the exhibition. I'll not go into the details of the opening of the exhibition. So then, so the flow of the exhibition, as I mentioned, the ground floor was, with the small galleries, was the basic tenets of Hinduism and Buddhism: Atma, Brahma, Panchatattva, and astral deities. And then we go to the first floor after that, and there was exhibited Vishnu and Vishnu avatars. Then after Vishnu avatar was Shiva, and Shiva and Shakti, Ardhanarishwar. And I had planned to have Shiva with Ganesh with Shiva, because usually people understand Ganesh just as an individual, and they forget that he is actually the son of Shiva and Parvati. So I had thought we'll put him inside with Shiva and as a part of Shiva's family. But Ganesh just wouldn't fit inside the gallery. So I had to rework and rework. I put so many temporary partitions, but no, Ganesh is a very popular deity in Nepal. And so there are lots of artists who work on the theme of Ganesh, and we had about 18, 20 or more than 20 artworks related to Ganesh for the exhibition. And then I had to brainstorm again about what to do, where to place Ganesh. And as I mentioned before, most of our exhibitions, when they are related to deities or not even related to deities, they start with Ganesh. So Ganesh actually wanted that. So we placed him on the lobby of the first floor, so outside. So he was the first to be visited after you enter the first floor. So then Ganesh, and then from inside you would move on to Vishnu and Shiva, and then Adi Buddha, and then Pancha Buddha, and then Life of Shakyamuni Buddha. And then the second floor. So for this exhibition, as I mentioned before, because it was in collaboration with Federation of Handicraft Association of Nepal, who work very closely with handicraft artists all over Nepal. So at a current stage in Nepal, handicraft is evolving to not only include what was made hundreds of years ago, but to cater to the current market of modern life. So there are lots of innovations in the handicraft sector. So the second floor had booths related to these entrepreneurs who had moved a few steps ahead and had lots of innovations in their handicraft sector. So there were about 6 to 7 booths showcasing their products. And then there was also an installation of Newar and Maithili culture. So Newar and Newar culture is the culture of the Kathmandu Valley, the traditional culture. The people who actually lived in Kathmandu are the Newars, their culture. And Maithili culture is Maithilis are also a very predominant part of Nepal's population, and they live in the Tarai belt, and they also have a very rich culture. So all the artworks that are displayed in the exhibition or are made not only for this exhibition or just generally are a result of cultural and artistic and ritual practices of various communities of Nepal. So therefore, to show that intangible part of that heritage from which the artworks come from was important for me. Therefore, I had included in this exhibition 2 installations, one of a Newar cultural installation, which was that of the Bhimratha Rohan, or the celebration of the 77 years, when somebody reaches 77 years, 7 months, 7 days, 7 hours, 7 seconds, and 7 palas as minutes, and palas as it is mentioned in our local language. And Maithili culture, they are from the Tarai region of Nepal, and they are agrarian by their occupation. And because they are agrarian, they are very close to nature. So the Nag Puja, Nag are the serpents. Serpent Puja is very close to their cultural practice, and for that they make a very beautiful installation, and that was presented in this exhibition. I'll show them to you as we move further. And then on the mezzanine floor was a special installation of the Indra Jatra festival, which is the largest festival of Kathmandu. The largest festival of Patan is the Bungadeo Jatra, and then of Bhaktapur is the Biscuit Jatra. But of Kathmandu, Indra Jatra is the largest. And this festival has lots of paraphernalia related to the exhibition, related to the festival, which most of us have forgotten over time. We think that Indra Jatra is only about worshipping the mask of Bhairav at the core city of Kathmandu, and then the chariots of the Kumari, the Bhairav, and Ganesh moving around a certain path. We associate Indra Jatra to only that much, and also the Lakhe dance, which is Lakhes are these demigods that we make. They are mask. They are human beings wear these masks, and these demigods, the spirits of the demigods, they come inside them, and then they perform these very lavish dances during this festival. And we confined this festival only to this much, and there are so many other paraphernalias related which we have forgotten. And there were a group of 2 architects who had actually mapped the route that the three chariots of the festival of Kumari, Bhairav, and Ganesh, they move around in the core city of Kathmandu. They had mapped it, and I had seen that map in many places where they had displayed it, but in just A4 or A3 sizes. And whenever I saw that, I always thought that there's so much of research put into this, but it's not getting enough visibility. So therefore, when this exhibition concept was materialized, my first thing was to include that mapping in this exhibition. So they got a huge floor space of about 20 feet by 20 feet, or even more, I think a little bit more than 20 feet. And on the floor, they mapped the route of the chariot and the different significance of the places where the chariots stop and move around in the Kathmandu Valley. And that was a part of of their installation. And other artworks related to Indra Jatra was also installed with this installation at the mezzanine floor. Then one would come back to the ground floor, where we have the continuation of Buddhist deities, that is Lokeshwar, Sambaras, Yoginis, Taras, Siddha Purush, Mahankal, Bhairav. And then in the end, I had two artworks of festivals. One was of a festival in Kathmandu, and one was of spirits. So the purpose of having these two exhibitions was, after these two exhibits in the end was, as you exit out, was after you visit all the deities, and then you come to the festival, where you come back to the world. From the spiritual world, you are situated back into the world that we live in. And then the spirits are also present in the world that we live in. So exiting back from the spiritual journey into our mundane world. So that was how the curation was conceptualized. So I'm just going to now show you some pictures of the exhibition as it unfolds. So this was the first room, as I mentioned, and it had the sound of the Om in repetitions, and people loved this gallery. There were lots of people who practice yoga, and then they said that they want to sit and meditate here. It was an amazing experience. People just sat and just ogled at the space, at the artworks, or at the cloud formation that was painted here. It was a very beautiful, surreal experience for me also, to see the effects of how an exhibition can, affect a person's mind and soul, not only the mind, the soul as well, because here it was connected with deities. So this was something that it looked like. And that was, these are the different Panchatatvas, that is the 5 elements. And then an artist had presented the 5 elements here. And then Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshya, these are the 7 chakras of our body. And then we move to the next room, which is the planetary system. So in Nepal, we have the moon and the sun very often made in paintings. And here, as you can see, this is a contemporary art of the 7 horses that represents the sun. This is another contemporary art of the sun. This is a Maithili art of the sun. And then these two are the Chandra Mandal and the Surya Mandal, that is made in the Newar style of painting, which we call the Pauba style. And so for this exhibition, yes, we did receive a high number of artworks from the artists, but then there were lots of gaps that we had to fill. Like, we received the Surya Mandal from an artist, and to display only the Surya Mandal without the Chandra Mandal would be, kind of something's missing. So therefore, we had to look for the Chandra Mandal, and we also went to various collectors to fill in the gaps for many of the artworks to fit into the narrative of the exhibition. And here is in Maithili art again, the Surya. This artwork was made by a Maithili artist who lives in New York, and I had been telling him since a very long time to send his artworks. He said he's completed them, and I'll send them, Didi. It's all right. Don't worry, I'll send them. And then one night at 2 o'clock at night, he calls me. He says, Didi, The courier says it will take 2 weeks, and there's only 1 week left for the exhibition. So, last minute problem solving. And this exhibition was in such a way that the space for his painting was there. And now if he cannot send his painting, then I have to look for another artwork, similar kind of artwork with the similar size. So it was another challenge for artists to withdraw back or for some reason not be able to send. So what we did was I asked him to send high resolution photos. We printed them on canvas. We exhibited them. What you can see here is actually a canvas print, and his artwork was the last to come in, but the first one to be sold. This Surya by Ajit Kumar Shah, and when the artwork was to be sold, he had sent it, and it was already 2 weeks. So we received the original one that he had made. We replaced it with the print on canvas, and we gave it to the buyer. So there are lots of last minute problem solving also to be done during the exhibition. I will share with you one more issue of problem solving. Um, so these are some of the photos of the preview of the exhibition. And then as we finish, as I showed you on the ground floor, after we finish the planetary system and the mandals, then we move to the first floor where I said that we had to begin with Ganesh. Ganesh wanted his space and outside to be separated from everybody, to be the starter of the exhibition. So there he was. And this is how we displayed Ganesh. And you can see how Ganesh is made by contemporary artists, by traditional artists, in sculpture, wood, metal, every form of medium Ganesh is present. Even this is also made of chwali, which is like hay. The hay is in rolls. It is cut and split. It's opened and laid out and very beautifully made. So these are the different genres in which Ganesh has been presented. And when we move inside, we start with Vishnu and Vishnu avatar, and we have various avatars of Vishnu here. And I'm not sure whether you can see my cursor. Can you see my cursor? My pointer, sorry.
Yes, we can.
So this the box that is here has playing cards inside, which are more than 100 years old. And these playing cards, before the present kind of playing cards that we have with the king and the club and the spades and the heart and the diamonds, cards were played in Nepal, but they were made in relation to Vishnu avatars. So they came from 1 to 10, not like 1 to 13. And but all the different avatars of Vishnu was drawn on these cards, and the symbols of each avatar was how the numbers were presented. Like there would be 12 arrows, or 12 when it was the Buddha, then there would be 12 arm bowls, 10 arm bowls, like that, 1 to 10. So this, through the symbols of the deities, the cards were made. The one side, the symbols according to the numbers of the card that the card represents, and the other side the painting of the deity itself. So this is something that is 100 years old. And when we talk about graphic art right now, we think graphic art is an innovation of our century, of very recent time. But what is this? This is also graphic art, right? So it made me reflect on so many things that we feel we are so proud of, but every time we look at the artworks of ancient times, they had it all during that time. So these are different avatars of Vishnu. This is with Ramayan. So there's Hanuman, and then there is Ram, and then there's Krishna and Krishna Leela, etc. So this space that you can see here, which is marked with red, painted with red, the background, is as most of you who have been to Art Council would know, that on the first floor, this is the first wall that you see from outside the door of the first floor of the entrance of this gallery. So here I had planned to put an amazing artwork made by Gopal Kala Premi. He had made the Das Avtara in terracotta, and I had seen that some time ago, And I had asked him whether we could place it in the exhibition, and he said it was already a commission work, so I would have to ask the collector. So from Art Council, through Art Council, we had reached the collector, and he had agreed to give us, lend it to us for the exhibition. But 2 days before the exhibition, means after everything was already being installed and set up, he says he cannot lend it to us. And this is the highlight of the exhibition, from the point of view of how it is approached and also the decoration around it. And my heart, it just sunk. So I was thinking, now again, last minute problem solving, what should I do? So I called the artist. I said, I request you to please go to the collector, and we'll give you the letter, because he has agreed to lend us his artwork. And therefore, I will give you 2 volunteers or 3 volunteers, and the bubble wrap and whatever material you need, whatever help you need to go there and take out those which are installed on his wall and to bring it here. I'll give you all that, and please go. And he actually went, and that collector house, they went to the collector's house. They were allowed to enter into his compound, but that old man just wouldn't come out of his house. So they couldn't take that the 10 terracotta plaques out from his house and bring it here. And therefore, it is a huge space. This is almost about, I think, 15 feet. So to fill that 15 feet with something related to Vishnu Avatar, I had to, just reach out to various people and ask all people to brainstorm with me as to what to put here. And we did get artworks related to Vishnu and Vishnu Avatar, but it wasn't the best that I could have put there. But in 2 days, what more could be done? So that was some of the very difficult challenges faced. Then this is also an installation by an artist called Bhuvan Kesi. This is the how in villages, people worship autochthonous stone structures, and he made an installation of this, which was very apt for this exhibition, because before the images of deities were formed, people worshipped, in these forms. So then we move on to Shiva and Parvati and Ardhanarishwar, and then Shakti. And then Shakti was also a very popular theme in Nepal and presented in so many ways by the artists. I'm just moving on. And then we come to the Buddhist section of the exhibition, where we begin with Pancha Buddha, Adi Buddha, and the concept of Pancha Buddha. And here is Uche Vajracharya, his very famous paintings of Pancha Buddha. And then the Chaitya, which is a representation of the Adi Buddha in Nepal, and then the life of Shakyamuni Buddha, we can see here in these exhibits. And then this is the ground floor, where Tara is presented, and then Tara and Bhairav. So these are some of the exhibited artworks. This artwork is that of Kalu Pandey, and he is considered to be the master of making wrathful deities. So Chakra Sambhar is presented here. This is about 8 feet tall. So it is quite large, and you can see the wrath of the deity, from all angles that you see him, you can see that, and he is known as the master of making wrathful deities. And this is another highlight of the exhibition. 108 Lokeshwaras were exhibited in this exhibition here, and they have never been exhibited in art exhibitions. They are exhibited in the National Museum here, in line drawings, and at Janabahal in Kathmandu, which is a Buddhist monastery, a Buddhist temple, a Buddhist vihar rather. They were made about, I think, 80 or 90 years ago on the walls as repoussé art. And this is made by Lok Chitrakar. The original is in Japan, and these are prints. So I had requested him to display it in this exhibition, and we curated this semicircular kind of a structure where people could go inside this and feel the aura and the compassion of the Lokeshwara inside this semicircular space. It was to be entered from this side, and there was a sound box that was supposed to be placed on top, chanting the mantra of Lokeshwara, but for some reason we could not put it on top. We put it on somewhere concealed in this gallery, and then the chants and mantras of Lokeshwaras were chanted, were aired in this gallery. And people were really enjoying looking at, taking very close look, because never before has all the 108 Lokeshwaras been presented. So this is the last two exhibits, as I mentioned, of festivals and the spirits. And this is the entrance of Art Council where the exhibition was happening. So some of the salient features of the exhibition was to juxtapose all genres of Nepali art on the same platform. And as I mentioned before, we made an open call, and we received large number of artworks, out of which we had to select only 246 approximately, which was something that we would have loved to exhibit more, maybe next time. And we visited the studios of many senior artists and encouraged them to take part in this exhibition, and selected artworks from their collections, because they are not digital friendly, and so therefore these open calls would not have reached them, but we sent them personal invitations to take part, and we visited them. And then we printed photos, as I mentioned, of all the submitted artworks, and segmented them into the planned themes. And we had about 3-4 rounds of selection, and then according to the narrative, we laid them out on the paper. And what I'd like to discuss also are some challenges. That was 4 months, as I mentioned. We had only 4 months to plan such a large exhibition, and with the 2 festivals and the election holidays coming in between, it was only 3 months. And explaining the theme to the artists and the importance of deadline was also a big challenge, because never before such an exhibition was organized in such a way. And there were, after a certain time, we extended the deadline submission, but we were still getting more and more artworks. So we thought, now, we already received too many, and it'll be very difficult for us to select. And if artists, they can't understand deadlines, we have to stop. So we send this auto reply from Gmail saying, thank you for your submission. However, the submission date has already elapsed. So we encourage you to take part next time. And they would call me personally and say, what is this? What kind of a message is this? What are you trying to say with this message? Many of them, they said, yeah, that's the message to say the deadline is over. And it was not too well received, though, but I think it will slowly make a change. And fortunately, we got an overwhelming response, but then, as I mentioned, the process of selection was not only difficult, but very arduous to the mind and to the eyes as well. And submissions were not only plentiful, but very diverse, and they were printed and segmented. Submission deadlines were not taken seriously, as I mentioned, and then laying out the narrative on paper, and working on filling the gaps, and reworking so many times was another challenge, and brainstorming for new ways of exhibiting. So this exhibition was bilingual in its interpretation panels. That was also very challenging. And last minute changes by artists and collectors to not submit or change submissions was another crisis management. Like, there were not many, I think 2 artists who came with a different painting than the one that was selected. And then said, why did you bring this? Oh, because this looks much better than that. So it was not about what looks better than this or that. It was about fitting into the narrative in this exhibition. So the space of measuring every centimeter was already allocated for that, so there were a couple of artists who had to take that back and bring in the other painting which was selected, and that is how I think we all begin to understand the seriousness of how the exhibition was. So I'll not go into the details of the narratives. So for the exhibition, we also had other highlights, which was lectures by public lectures by scholars. We had two scholars from India who gave lectures on the iconography of Vishnu and iconography of Shiva and Shakti. And as I mentioned, there were these Maithili and Newar installation, which I'm going to show you a picture of. This is the installation of the Bhimratha Rohan with all its paraphernalia and the different art forms that are included in the festival, or rather not festival, the ritual of the Bhimratha Rohan. There is the chariot in which the person celebrating his 76th or her 77th birth year is seated, and if they are in couple, there are two chariots, and all these different artworks with small terracotta utensils, etc., all made, and paintings of the called Janku Paubas are also made. And this is the installation of the Nag Puja, and here's the artist himself, Hariom Mehta. He is showing the entrance door of the huts that are traditionally in the Tarai region, and how the doors are decorated, and on the side of the door, this is the representation of the universe, the cross, and then this is the Nag, so which is made with cow dung and mud. So this was actually painted with mud and then made with cow dung, and then these drawings which are made for the festival are made with ritualistic purpose, with the female member being dressed in a particular way, traditional attire, and then making this. And actually it was all done in the same sequence as it would have been done in a real Nag Puja. So as I mentioned, we had 11 to 12 volunteers daily. So on the whole, we had 32 volunteers in the exhibition who were trained to guide people in the exhibition, give guided tours. And then there is this guide who is explaining about this installation. And this is the exhibit on the mezzanine floor. As I mentioned, the mapping of Indra Jatra. You can see the 3 color routes that are taken on the 3 days that the chariots move around. And on each stop, the information and a graphic of the area where the chariots stop are provided with installation. And we had planned to bring a big chariot, but dismantling it would not fit into the gallery upstairs, the door of the gallery upstairs. So we could not bring in a bigger chariot. We had to confine to these 3 small chariots. And later on, also I realized that if we had brought in a very big chariot, that would grab all the attention and people would not read the details of the information that was being shared, and that was more important. And people really loved this installation of the Indra Jatra. So here again, you can see how it was displayed. And here there was the music of the vibrant music that is played in the festival was played here, and it could be heard from downstairs. So people would already be attracted to what's happening up there. So people would come up here, and we had a wonderful guide who explained people all the details of this festival. And this was another painting that was borrowed from a collector from the Purna Museum of Newar art, because it has the whole story of the Indra Jatra in this painting. So therefore, I had requested them to lend it to us. And another salient feature of the exhibition was incorporating educational programs for the exhibition, in which 13 to 15 schools were targeted, and each school brought from 30 to 50 students. And And the people conducting the education programs are all my students, and they are all museologists. So there was no glitch or no issue in related to the education programs. The schools love the education programs. In fact, there were some schools who brought in without properly informing according to the time schedule. Because their students love the education program, the next day, without even filling in the details of whether the time slots are there or not for the education program, they just brought in their students in numbers of hundreds. And we had to even queue people outside the Nepal Art Council building in the large parking area that we had, because there were too many people inside the galleries. And so here you can see that they are being, yes, I'm towards my end, dear.
Okay, because we have a question starting to come in the chat. So
okay, I will
you
take 2
can
moments.
wrap it up.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks.
So because the theme of the exhibition was deities, so the education program focused on the mudras and asanas of deities, and you can see how the children are enjoying the education program. Not only college and school children, but even little children also visited the exhibition. And you can see here they are discussing, little boys, I think they're about 6 to 8 years old or even less, and they are discussing an artwork, which is a big achievement. And as I mentioned, we had innovations in art booth on the 2nd floor, and interactive games related to Nepali culture was also there by Kazi Studio. And we had 7 booths of innovation in art. And this is Not Craft. This is Sui Rotis. And the footfall of the exhibition, we had about 11,000 visitors during the 17 days, 660 plus visitors visiting every day. And this was the largest footfall I think any exhibition in Nepal has had. Many volunteers and many school visits. And thank you. Yes, dear, now I am ready for questions.
Thank you, Swosti.
Presentation.
Sorry for having interrupted you. This is really great because it gives us really a sense of what it is to curate an exhibit. We saw you at work. We saw you resolving problems. And we also got to have a sense of the culture also. So it's really interesting for us as we're in this course. We're starting our artwork and thinking of the exhibit from the very beginning. It gives us a chance to kind of like work with you on this, on how are we gonna present our work. There are a few questions already that have fallen. Let me check back. One question was, how is Nepal Art Council funded? Is it funded through government or subsidies or private donors?
Nepal Art Council was initially founded through government agencies, but on a PPP, that is public-private partnership. So before this, I think about 15 years ago or so, we would get an annual budget from the government, but since 15 to 20 years, we do not get. But we are still considered as a part of the government, but not fully an integral part of the government. When we ask them for grants for some big projects, according if it fits into that annual grant policy, then they do give us, like for renovations, etc. They do give us, but then for exhibitions and all like this, we do not get grants. We generate through private funding policies. Yeah. And also gallery rent is also another way that we generate our income. But gallery rent is very nominal at Nepal Art Council, so it just pays for the running of the maintenance and running of the institution.
Ah, um, thank you. So a few more of these kinds of questions before we get into like the actual content of the exhibit. But the how are insurance of artworks? How does that work?
So currently in Nepal, artworks are the formula for the policies for insurance of artwork is just about starting. In 2019, when we had this exhibition at Vienna with the Welt Museum at Vienna, they wanted us to insure all the artworks that were selected, but we couldn't get them insured here because whatever is insured has to be under law, under lock and key. They said, has to be inside closed doors. But while exhibiting, it cannot be locked. You have to exhibit. So at that time, we could not insure them. But recently, these policies have been changing, and I have heard that now it is open to artworks being insured as well now.
It's interesting. How about the gender balance? Did you have to work with that when you looked into the artwork that you chose? Did you actually think of including women, because often women are less represented as artists?
In Nepal, in the contemporary art scene, although there is a slight dominance of male artists, but then there are lots of female artists also in the contemporary art scene. In Maithili art, you can see most of the artists are female artists. But in the traditional art form of Kathmandu Valley, in the painting, there are few female artists also budding up. But in making sculptures and repousses and wood and stone art, it is mainly male dominated. But the but that I'm going to add is that these art forms, making metal and wood and all these kind of artworks, they are not made by a single artist. They are made by the whole family. There are different processes each family member contributes to. So although the front end, the male is there in the front end, but then the females are always there included in some way or the other.
So the names are included. That's what you're saying. It's interesting. There is a real shift, I think, in Nepal on the gender issue. It's quite amazing to see it in decades changing so quickly. It's really interesting. Thank you about this question. Another question coming from Eduardo. Those previous questions were from Shireen. This question is from Eduardo. Were there any thoughts about how to capture the attention of potential visitors who are not necessarily interested in the religious aspect, but more on the artistic aspect?
Yeah, actually, initially we had planned to even put the process of making these artworks also exhibit, to also have it included in the exhibition, but there wasn't enough space. So that thought was there because as the question says, not everybody is interested in deities. There could be somebody who's interested in the exhibition just purely as art form, but this time we could not add it. But I just want to add that this exhibition was I think one of the most successful exhibitions that has happened in Nepal, and I would think it happened for two reasons. One was the theme itself. Deities of Nepal is a theme that would attract small children. Like if you tell them to go and see the gods and goddesses, not in the temples, but in an art exhibit, they would wonder what they are going to see. So The theme itself, which attracted people from children to college-going students, school-going students, university students, to tourists, to elderly people who would come in with their grandchildren. You know, people came in as many as 6 and 7 times, bringing different groups of people with them. And I would think that that the theme of the exhibition was the catch point in this exhibit. And yes, of course, there are lots of people who would not be interested in deities, but simply art. But because I think Nepal is a land filled with deities, and as written in 1793 by Kirkpatrick, there are more people, there are more temples and gods and people in this country. So I think mostly if somebody would come to Nepal, the concept of gods and temples and deities would be in their mind. But actually, that is a good point that I will keep in mind, because this time we wanted to include it, but was unable to because of the large number of submissions.
Thank you. This is really true. When we go to Nepal, we cannot avoid facing deities. So one other question from Aurelia. Is it true that some tankas cannot be seen by women? They cannot be displayed in public? Some pauba work or?
Yeah, there are some which are like highly tantric deities. They cannot be displayed in public spaces because they can only be displayed inside a certain part of the temple or the monastery, and only those who have diksha or who have wisdom in tantrism, they can see those paintings or those deities. Not only paintings, but also made in various mediums, stone, metal, wood. So you need to be ordained in tantrism to take a look at those paintings.
Right, initiated, you need to have received the initiation, right? Another comment this time. Thank you so much for taking us through the presentation, Swosti ji. Congratulations to you and your team, and looking forward to more such exhibition in the future.
Thank you. There is a tour that I have given because when this exhibition was launched, there were so many friends who would not be able to visit, and so many well-wishers who said, "How can we visit the exhibition?" So then I had a video recording of like a curatorial tour. I will share the link with Tian, and maybe you can share it sometime.
Yes, that would be great. I go into another set. I wonder if there is any other questions from the group here today. Yeah, Ishwar? No? Yes? Yes, would you? So question here. Another thank you for from the UK. So what I would like to do then, I would like to ask you, Swosti, what if somebody wants to do an exhibit, as we will do with this course on Buddhist art at the end, what do you think, what would you be your advice for guiding us in preparation for this event?
Can you please repeat your question, Diane?
So what would be your advice as we think through, and we're not really curators or museologists ourselves, when thinking about an exhibition, what are your advice? What should we think about? Is the theme the most important one, or does the theme happens at the end? Right? When we have exhibit and we have to work out the different themes. How does that work?
As a curator, I always think that exhibitions should be much more than their aesthetic appeal. I think that people, when they visit an exhibition, they should take away something little more than the aesthetic appeal, or at least the exhibition should be able to provide something more than the aesthetics. Then there's a choice for the visitor to take the aesthetics or to take more than the aesthetics. So that is what I feel, that Buddhism is something that is understood from its philosophy. The philosophy of Buddhism is very important, and therefore in an exhibition related to Buddhism, if we have some elements of the interpretation of the philosophy included in very simple language so that everybody can understand, then it makes so much more sense and a better understanding of not only the artwork, but of the whole concept of the few tenets of Buddhism that we all know of mindfulness, of compassion, of sharing. These are the things that I feel one when visiting an exhibition related to Buddhism at least should take away from the exhibition, these tenets.
So maybe we should think of writing abstracts about the idea connected with the artwork that could be displayed beside the artwork.
Yes, that's something that I was going to talk to you when we would go deeper into the exhibition curation, but good we discussed it right here.
Actually, do you think I could possibly say something there? I'm going to try and show you this on my picture here, but you can see that this is an exhibition on Alexander the Great, which is running in London at the moment. And what I found useful about this was picking up on the points of Diansa, is that the leaflet that comes with it it's basically slightly bigger than A4, I think. But you can see there's headings you can see there. And if I hold this up at the end, it gives you a brief description of a particular theme, and then you get a picture illustrating the column above. And I think something simple like this is quite useful for people, either when they leave or whatever. And to put the thing in context, they've got a map on the back of Alexander the Great's empire. And I thought that you talked about the map on the floor during your talk, which was so important. Now, I didn't quite understand the significance of it, but those kind of things act as real triggers to people. They can look at it, they can walk around it, they can follow the story, particularly when you've got various parts that are illustrated and draw to people's attention. So I think it's a brilliant what you did in terms of helping students understand the process of curation. But for the visitor who's not in that, as the last question says, I think you possibly needed something that you could go away with and say, that was the thing that I knew nothing about, and here's a very little good summary of it with one or two references, perhaps for people to follow up in books or whatever. But brilliant, we enjoyed it very, very much here near London, and I've learned a lot. And looking at some of the recordings I've got of doing curations in British Museum, let me say, Swosti, you're way in the lead of us, way in the lead. So thank you very much.
Thank you for that compliment. Thank you.
So we could possibly think of I appreciate your comment. Possibly think as well as the curation of a publication that would go with it, that somebody could take away, like a pamphlet or a small publication.
Small is the word, small. And of course, the thing that all the museums here are doing now is putting QR codes next to the exhibits so that you can follow straight into the website that is done. That is so popular here because you just use your mobile phone, QR code, straight into it, and you can follow it up. And school teachers in particular are using it a lot in the art galleries and so on, because you can then focus in on, if you wanted to look at, whatever, you can then get so much detail. And modern youth are far more interested in QR codes and seeing it on their mobile than they are necessarily reading the book. So I do think it's a brilliant technology that I would certainly be recommending everywhere. Well, use it myself.
Even for this exhibition, that was in our initial plan, but then the time just didn't allow us.
I can't understand how you did it so quickly. from July to November is a real triumph. I mean,
I had this wonderful team of teamwork that made this happen. And Suraj is right here sitting. I think he's just left. Suraj is here. Maybe he can share something about the exhibition, your experience.
Hello, namaste to everyone. It was really quite, I experienced really a good that for me as a visitor or as a museology student, it was really a quite new experience for me as a visitor also, because earlier also I have visited a lot of exhibition, but this exhibition was quite totally different than others. So in this exhibition, we fully utilize our whatever we learn in our museology studies. So this is quite interesting and a new one, first time used in Nepal, I think. It was really good. Thank you.
Thank you, Suraj.
Thank you. There is 3 more questions from Jose. The first one, from the artists that submitted their creation, was there a tendency or a majority towards one art form, as more one deity, or more on one religion?
I think there were more Buddhist art than Hindu arts. And in terms of popularity of deities, Ganesh, Lokeshwar, Bhairav, and Taras, they are made in plethora by artists here. And so therefore they were in numbers also much dominant than other deities. And also Panchabuddha also.
Oh, yeah. And then was there artists combining non-related deities or religion into their creation? I'm not sure what you mean by that, Jose. Would you like to ask your question?
Yes, Ginla, hello, everybody. So I'm sorry if there's echo. What I mean is like just make like putting into the creations a little bit maybe Buddhist deity within the realm of other maybe Hindu deities, or just just mix up, just because speaking from some Western artists and seeing some of their art forms. Of course, here we're talking something much more specific, but maybe just even the idea of maybe if you saw artists submitting, maybe not so common, not maybe more modern approach to this. I'm not sure if I can explain myself properly. I'm sorry.
I got you, Jose. I did get you. So when talking about deities, I did mention that in the selection process, we had to also look into the iconography. So alterations to the present iconography in a very drastic way would be very difficult to accept when you title them as deities, right, with the name of the deities. But if you have a new title, then that's all right. But we did have one exhibit in the similar lines that you're talking about, and we did exhibit it, and there were lots of people who asked me, why is this painting here? That was by an artist called Asha Dangol. That was, his title was New Avatar, and it was a human figure with I think a tiger head sitting on top of a jeep, so so I had placed it after the 10 avatars of the last avatara that he, according to contemporary art, is the new avatara. And then we have the Kalki avatar will come riding on a horse, which was written like centuries ago. So according to this artist, he probably believes that the new avatara will be coming on a car, like a Hindi Bollywood style, on top of a car, flying from on top of a car. So I thought it was relevant to put it there because it relates to what the artists think in their thought process when they talk about deities, although it is not particular hinting at any religion or or trying to undermine any concept of the religion. but it is his liberal thought. So I had that exhibit there, and many people asked me, why is this here? How does it relate to this exhibition? And I did give this answer, and people were very amused.
So this is great answer, and I'm really glad in your presentation that you put the stones there, the sculpture made of the stone, because this is so important in Nepal life. Just walking in the street, we're always confronted or having to work with the stone worshipping. So I thought that was really good. There is another question coming in here from Shireen. So if we consider art which do not meet traditional iconographic rules, how do we address it? How to address it? Shireen, would you like to ask your question? You need to unmute.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm multitasking. I would just read it. So yeah, Swosti, obviously, when you posted for applicants, did you make this iconographic rule known to the applicants?
I don't think it's so necessary to have it known, because in Nepal, when artists make deities, they still look into the iconographic rules and they make it. There was one artwork that did come with the deity not following the iconographic rules, means from the garment to the hand postures, etc. So we did not take that, and I sent an email to the artist saying that for this reasons we could not take it. So then he was very happy actually to receive a response and an explanation, and he also felt that he needed to be aware of these things. And actually there was last year during the handicraft exhibition at Hyatt. There's the annual exhibition of handicraft at Hyatt, right? I'm sure you all know about it who live in Bauda at least. Last year, when I had visited the exhibition, last year means 2021, not 22. And so when I had visited it, there was a collector who was showing me his an artwork which was bought by a monk in where did he say, in Singapore or something. And then his follower was here, and he had sent him a photo of that artwork, and then the monk had agreed to purchase it. And then he kept asking that seller to send the complete photo, and he said, this is the complete photo that I'm sending you. And then when he got to know that that is the complete photo, then he cancelled his order, because the deity was not with the legs, it was only till about the torso. And then deities are made in their full. If you are to have them for secular purposes, so they are supposed to be in the full, not secular for religious purposes, sorry,
Religious
for
purposes, yeah.
veneration purposes. So then his order was cancelled. So he was saying, this is so new to me, and actually it also sent me a lot of messages and thoughts, because nowadays artists are coming up with their free expressions, and then they are portraying only half forms of the deities, but then for religious purposes that they are not accepted. So but this exhibition was not about the religious purpose. It was just about showcasing the plethora of deities in Nepal. And I think people also came to this exhibition in such a large numbers, because they were also seeing what they see in temples as art objects, as art pieces, not something that they should venerate. But of course there were lots of people who were venerating, doing namaste to the deities and all also. But it was very interesting to see this. And Shirin, I hope I answered your question, because there is
so that was kind of my point, because this was an art exhibition as opposed to a religious exhibition. when you mentioned that, I thought that was interesting because I was thinking like Aung San Sherpa's stuff. I know he doesn't do, what would you say, formal deities as such. He doesn't identify them necessarily as form. Some of them he does. Yeah, he has some. So, I mean, I was just thinking that might be an interesting theme for RYI's exhibition then, because how do we differentiate between art and deities? It's a rhetorical question.
That was his exhibit. His painting was the last exhibit, which was titled Himalayan.
Yeah, I saw
Spirit.
his. Yeah, I saw his.
So that was now exiting, because spirits are like demigods. You know, they're not gods, but then they are still have some spiritual attachment to them. So then you're exiting to the mundane world, and spirits don't live in heaven; they live in this world, right? So that was how the exhibition was also curated, to have his painting in the very end.
And I can answer a little bit to the RYI exhibit, because our purpose here will not be to necessarily make religious art as it has been expressed before. We're looking at how the Buddhist philosophy can be expressed through the artistic process. So it's almost like the artwork in this particular class will not be product oriented, although we will show the product, but it's more process oriented. So we will talk about the process of embracing emptiness, for example, and using some philosophical stanzas from Madhyamaka, from Milarepa, from Guru Rinpoche, and see what experience comes of that through the artistic process. So we will not follow the iconographic rules in that particular exhibit. I don't know if that makes sense, Shireen.
Yeah, I'm just saying, so in terms of informing your people, the artists who are submitting, it would be clear then.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. This will be clear from the beginning. Yes.
I tried to share the painting of the new avatar behind the stone autochthonous object. Can you see it? Am I sharing my screen?
You were, but not you're not anymore. And we'll close our talk with this image. I think it's a nice closing.
Okay, just a minute. I am unable to share. Just give me a minute. Can you see it now?
We can see the stones.
Yeah, here my cursor shows.
Oh, yes, I see.
Lion-headed human being, right?
Yes.
And on top of a vintage Jeep, and in the mountainous region. This is title 11th Avatar. So it was many people, as I mentioned, asked me, why is this here? What is it? What does it mean? Then I asked them to look at the title.
In many ways, it's groundbreaking, educational. Even the call for submission was educational. The whole thing was educational, wasn't it?
Yes. Yes. So this exhibition was also about giving some artistic freedom, but because this is just the title is 11th Avatar. If the title would have been Vishnu 11th Avatar or something, then maybe we could not have put it.
All right. Very interesting. Is it a Ganesh below?
No, it's just an elephant-headed person who is venerating the new avatar, who is in Anjali Mudra, Namaskar Mudra.
Very nice. Thank you so much, Shireen. Thank you so much for guiding through this kind of discipline of being a curator. It's a very kind of difficult discipline. It's partly educational, partly structural. You have to structure the whole thing. You have to, there is a lot of philosophy also involved, right? Of reading these images within a context and the kind of like drawing out its main meaning and shining, making it shine for an audience. So this is really interesting. I want to thank you so much. I'm looking forward to work more with you on the exhibit, also possibly on the conference, on a paper together. So very excited about doing that with you. For our students, we will be talking some more about the project, your art project tomorrow. So we'll be meeting in the class. And for everybody else, thank you for coming to our series. Next week, we have contemplative photography with Julie DeBose, using basically the teaching of Trungpa Rinpoche and using it as an artistic, using them, the teachings, as an artistic practice. So we welcome you. We'll have beautiful pictures, obviously, and we welcome you for this next talk next week. So until then, please stay safe, be well, and see you soon.
Thank you, Tien. Thank you, RYI, and thank you all of you who have come here to listen to my lecture. Thank you so much. Namaste.